Hello and welcome to CTV News Across Canada for Thursday, October 2nd. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast. Stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
The Lake George wildfire here in Kings County has grown to 290 hectares and is considered out of control. We've seen water bombers constantly making drops, Todd, this afternoon as they hope to rein this fire in. Officials with DNR said yesterday they suspect the fire was caused by human activity. One evacuee I spoke with today is frustrated that the province lifted the ban on traveling in the forests while the area is still dry.
These woods in Kings County should not have been open. And I'm bitter. Yes, I'm bitter and I'm tense because everything I own is right next to the fire.
The Lewis Millet Community Center in New Minas is open 24/7 for anyone forced to leave their homes. So far, no homes or dwellings have been lost. This afternoon, Natural Resources Minister Tory Rushton extended wildfire season until the end of October. And burn bans remain in effect here in Annapolis County. There are also air quality statements issued for Kings County and Lunenburg County.
The Crown called 4 Waterloo Regional Police constables to the stand today, all of whom attended Cayley Court on November 15, 2022 for a triple stabbing. Dylan Moreira is accused of killing his girlfriend and seriously injuring his girlfriend's daughter and his own mother. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. First on the stand was Constable Ashley Vanderkoek, who was new to the role when she attended the scene nearly 3 years ago. Upon walking into the house, Vanderkoek told court, "When you picture a horror film, I just remember seeing blood everywhere." She testified that she saw Moreira's girlfriend being attended to by paramedics, but she was not showing any vital signs. Vanderkoek accompanied the girlfriend in the ambulance on the ride to the hospital. When Crown Prosecutor Thomas Mack asked whether Moreira's girlfriend regained consciousness at all during that ride, she told court, "Not from my understanding." Constable Andrew Chrisman noticed a lot of blood, a lot of chaos when he arrived. Chrisman testified that he noticed a male determined to be Moreira injured at the bottom of a set of stairs. He told court that as he got closer with a medical bag, Moreira became aggressive. He began swinging his arms in my direction, trying to grab onto me. During cross-examination, defense lawyer Stephen Gale asked Constable Chrisman whether he caused any of the cuts or contusions to Moreira's face. "I did not cause them, no," he testified. The Crown then called Constable Brent Reeve to the stand, who testified that he saw Moreira with a bandage on his head, yelling and asking for help from his mother. Constable Reeve also recalled seeing a knife in the basement that was smeared with blood. A couple of the officers told court they recalled seeing dogs inside the house. Constable Taylor Smith testified that one dog's neck was injured. The blood was kind of spraying out of its neck. As Smith made his way through the house to secure the scene, he noted that in one bedroom the window frame was covered in blood, and in the children's area there was a significant amount of blood. The trial will resume on Friday when another officer and a toxicologist are expected to testify. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Kitchener.
Gavin DeClark was just 17 years old when his life was taken in a two-vehicle crash on Medway Road. Neighbor Dick Loss arrived home shortly after.
There was a lot of activity down there, and the debris on the road was horrendous.
In a statement, Gavin's family said, "We are deeply devastated by the loss of our son Gavin and so grateful for the love and support that we've received from family, friends, and our community." Gavin was from Thorndale and attended Medway High School, just west of where the crash occurred.
He was a nice, quiet kid.
Principal Chris Smith says the school community is in mourning with a tragic events team on hand.
It's been a tough 48 hours, for sure. It feels like it's been a lot longer than that. It's heavy, and students and staff are feeling the loss.
The collision happened Monday afternoon. Police said Gavin was driving an SUV traveling eastbound on Medway Road when the vehicle crossed into the path of an oncoming feed truck. He died at the scene. The truck driver suffered minor injuries. Neighbor Don Gogol, who didn't want to appear on camera, witnessed the truck leave the roadway.
I just was coming out the door to see the truck veering off the road, hit the pole in the cornfield, and the driver dropped out right away.
As for Medway Road itself, neighbors say it is well patrolled by the OPP, but it has become increasingly busy, with many drivers speeding and often unaware they're sharing the road with farm vehicles.
Tractors pulling grain wagons. There's large spray equipment, lots of farm equipment that is very apparent during harvest.
In the meantime, all that's left of the crash are the marks from the two vehicles involved in this memorial set up where the SUV came to rest.
Sad for the family, and we've actually, between my wife and myself, discussed that someday it's going to happen, and yeah, lo and behold, it did.
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Scotty Eisman, Scott Evan, yeah. His card actually just said Scotty.
A man known by many names, Scott Eisman, pleaded guilty to 6 counts of fraud and failing to comply with a release order while out on bail. Eisman, who is now 56, was accused of defrauding customers out of more than $360,000 to get permits, equipment, and renovations done on cottages and seasonal homes in Simcoe, Muskoka, and Parry Sound through his company, Cottage Life Construction.
The reason guys like this get away with it is because people are ashamed and embarrassed. And I went to the cops and they said, go away. And I went, what?
She says Bracebridge OPP investigators told her she didn't have enough evidence. Liz Saunders was out about $65,000 because of Eisman, who admitted to taking money from his customers starting in 2017.
Why wasn't it more public that this trade person was out there running again the same scams over and over again?
Eisman initially pleaded guilty to several counts last year, but asked the judge to strike his pleas, arguing he was improperly represented and counseled by his previous lawyer. Eisman was sentenced to 3 years behind bars last fall, but appealed the decision and was granted bail until he was picked up for violating his release conditions. Today, Eisman dropped his appeal, admitting he defrauded a customer out of $125,000.
6 years from now, it'll be 100 years
For
old.
customers like Saunders, that fraud was deeply personal and left her cottage that's been in her family for nearly 100 years in limbo and unsafe to use.
The scariest thing was he cut the ground wire, or the ground wire was cut. And when I said, what is that? He rolled it up and stuck it under the cottage and said, oh, don't worry about it, it's nothing.
Eisman has a lengthy criminal record that included 5 other fraud-related convictions. In 2012, he was accused of ripping off a 92-year-old woman and convinced the victim she needed home repairs, taking $138,000 from her. Justice Christopher Diana accepted Eisman's plea as part of a joint submission from the Crown and Defense, seeking 3.5 years in prison, telling Eisman these are not victimless crimes, describing the pain, shame, and humiliation Eisman's acts of deception and dishonesty caused his unsuspecting customers.
It's not just a question of the money. It's a question of, oh my God, how did I not see this?
As part of his sentence, Eisman is also ordered to pay restitution to his victims of more than $230,000. Mike Arsleedy, CTV News, Aurelia.
The Quebec Crown Prosecutor's Office, commonly known as the DPCP, openly acknowledges that this man, Daniel Jolivet, might have been wrongly convicted of a quadruple murder in Brossard in 1992. We now believe that the allegation of miscarriage of justice against Mr. Jolivet is not without merit, wrote Prosecutor Benoit Lauzon to Jolivet's lawyer. It's a decision that Jolivet, who's now 67, waited for more than 3 decades.
You know, it's been like 30 years. We've been saying the same thing, that Mr. Jolivet is the victim of a miscarriage of justice because of many elements that were not disclosed in this file.
Daniel Jolivet's case was the subject of a lengthy investigation on CTV's W5 2 years ago. In 1992, Jolivet was arrested and charged with the murders of 2 known drug dealers in Brossard, along with 2 women believed to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Jolivet, a career criminal, admitted he knew the victims, but insisted he wasn't the killer.
They were my friend. Never.
Jolivet was found guilty based on the testimony of Claude Riendeau, another known criminal, in exchange for a reduced sentence. Jolivet spent decades trying to clear his name until he convinced volunteer lawyers to take up his case. The lawyers in turn convinced the Crown to take a second look at the evidence.
They took the matter very seriously, and well, we had finally a letter that in which they confirmed that some elements were not disclosed in Mr. Jolivet's trial.
The problem is that despite the prosecution's admission, Jolivet remains behind bars, and for him to get out requires the permission of one person.
The only person who can order a new trial or can send a file to the Court of Appeal is the Minister of Justice of Canada.
We contacted Sean Fraser's office, but we didn't get a reply on time for this newscast. For Jolivet, it means he's once again at the mercy of a system he says let him down 33 years ago. Stéphane Giroux, CTV News.
It was here 14 years ago that 18-year-old Valerie LeBlanc's body was found. She had been badly beaten and burned. The brutal attack sending shockwaves through the community.
It's a horrible thing that happened right there.
I have a young son who's only 12, so that definitely is something that hits home.
Gatineau police say since 2011, investigators have remained hard at work on the case.
The work that was done 14 years ago and throughout the years, and especially the last weeks, were very professional. Everybody was dedicated.
That dedication leading to the arrest of 51-year-old Stéphane Rivard of Gatineau, charged with first-degree murder.
I hope that this step or this announcement yesterday can bring a little peace to the family and people surround close to the family.
The breakthrough coming 14 years after the murder and after police released this sketch of a suspect. Since then, investigators have sifted through more than 2,300 tips from the public.
The homicide itself shook Gatineau, shook Ottawa, Gatineau region. You know what? It shook all the police organization. Everybody was talking about that homicide. Everybody in the community wanted us to have some steps, some big announcement.
Rivard made his first court appearance Wednesday morning. For longtime Gatineau residents, they hope his arrest will provide some kind of closure to LeBlanc's family.
The important thing is that they did find someone, and that it'll bring some peace of mind to family and friends.
Rivard's next court appearance is set for October 21st. Police say this remains an open investigation, and anyone who has any information that has not yet come forward is urged to do so.
Not fair, transparent, or accountable.
That's the assessment of the province's Auditor General, Shelley Spence, after looking into the multi-billion-dollar Skills Development Fund, a fund trumpeted by the Ford government in many press conferences about training workers, though Spence found many of those programs were given funding despite the assessments of nonpartisan staff.
54% of all approved applications, representing $742 million in funding, were rated poor, low, or medium against the stated program objectives and criteria.
One low-ranking applicant given $4 million even though it had no experience managing government money. One approved project was ranked at just 41%. It was just one person training themselves. $126 million was given to applicants with lobbyists, including one we first told you about, former Premier's office staffer Amin Massoudi, who shepherded an application for at least $11 million to train people working in restaurants.
If you scored high in your application to this program, you didn't get the money. But if you scored low and you had a lobbyist, then you get the money. To me, that is textbook preferential treatment, or in other words, this looks like corruption.
Opposition leader Merritt Stiles calling for an integrity commissioner investigation, as other party leaders said the fund had
turned into a slush fund that smells and feels like the Greenbelt. It's the usual suspects.
Indeed, CTV News reported Massoudi went for a massage with a Greenbelt developer before the $8.5 billion land swap was rolled back. Massoudi has told CTV News everything in his application was above board. Ontario's Labour Minister appearing virtually at an afternoon press conference.
Did this government really spend hundreds of millions of dollars on low-ranked projects for connected people?
Look, I believe in the power of our skills development fund to change lives. And we know with a rapidly changing environment where we need to train workers to meet the disruptive needs of the workforce, that rapid training initiatives work.
A line opposition politicians didn't buy.
The Labour minister said in that press conference that he stands by the decision to hand out certain grants to people, but has agreed to the Auditor General's recommendations of improving some of the checks and balances on the fund. The opposition believes that this is just the beginning in the Skills Development Fund. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm John Woodward.
For over 100 years, this paper mill has been a cornerstone in Kapuskasing, but its future is uncertain. Owned by shareholders and run by a board of directors, the decision to idle operations came Monday, and people are scared.
We all received temporary layoffs, indefinite layoffs.
Luc Paquette is the president of Unifor Local 256, which represents about 70 of Cap Paper's 275 employees.
This came very suddenly, and members are devastated. Everyone's got a brother, a sister, a father, a mother working here. Everyone's got a relationship to this mill, and we're here for each other.
And together, we will keep fighting.
A one-hour rally took place outside of Cap Paper today. Participants hope federal and provincial leaders hear their cries. Today's rally drew hundreds of people, including employees from Cap Paper, children out of school, and mayors from out of town, all standing together to tell the Premier and the Prime Minister they will be on their doorsteps next if a concrete solution isn't found as soon as possible. Mayor Dave Plourde is also a Cap Paper board member. He says there's no more money left to operate Cap Paper or to pay employees. He's asking the federal and provincial governments to invest in Northern Ontario's forestry sector.
I think, quite honestly, the forest sector has been taken for granted for far too long. I think, just to reach out for a Goma Steel, $500 million invested, and on the same day we're announcing idling. I find that, I don't know if I want to call it ironic, but it doesn't make any sense.
The province of Ontario was working for a biomass plant here, or cogen, that would have took all the biomass. It was a long-term deal. It was there. It was supported all the way to last Friday. Last Friday, Ford government pulled the rug right under him and said, no, this is not our vision anymore.
It's unfathomable to me that when we're looking for economic diversity, when we're looking for a way to break away and create economic sovereignty, it's right at our feet. It's here in the forest industry. So now's not the time to divest from grassroots Canada. Now is the time to invest in these people, invest in the industry, and help us get a plan forward to create the future of this country.
With the idling of Cap Paper, Green First sawmills in the region, including Cochrane, Kapuskasing, and Hearst, will also curtail operations next week. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Kapuskasing.
The FSIN says it categorically rejects the suggestion that millions of dollars in expenses are unaccounted for. It remains confident and optimistic Indigenous Services Canada will find that all expenditures are eligible. The FSIN has still not agreed to an interview, but sent media a 10-page release responding to each allegation it faces after Indigenous Services Canada flagged more than $34 million of spending as either ineligible, questionable, or unsupported. In the document, the FSIN says it handed over receipts and invoices for everything, but can't go through each expense because Indigenous Services has not provided them the full brief, only the summary that's available online, despite multiple requests. The FSIN alleges KPMG, who performed the audit, gave 10 days to respond to a list of over 700 questions and line items, which KPMG then took 10 weeks to review. The FSIN goes on to say KPMG did not include a number of documents and justifications FSIN provided last month before the summary report came out. The FSIN says it gave invoices and receipts for more than $23 million of COVID-19 funding that was flagged. It says funding flowed through the FSIN to each First Nation, and all spending followed funding agreements and was approved. The FSIN finished by saying it has a robust system of transparency and accountability developed over decades, and says the process followed by KPMG seems intended to set them up for failure. Keenan Sora Khan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Gardens Community Health Centre was the first of its kind in Saskatchewan. Through a partnership with the SHA, the clinic offered a more comprehensive suite of services than a traditional physician's clinic. Now, 7 years after opening, a sign in the window says the clinic will cease operation at the end of November. The NDP estimate that 5,000 patients will be left without a family physician.
Now, the Sask Party has a choice here today. They can step up and do the right thing and do everything in their power to keep this clinic open in 2 months' time, or they can continue to fail Saskatchewan people.
During the 2018 clinic opening ceremony, the government said it would budget $4.3 million in the first year to support the clinic and a seniors house call team. $3 million would be allocated in subsequent years through the SHA partnership. 30 positions would be created.
There are 5,000 patients that we have heard at this clinic who are losing their family doctor. That is adding on to the 200,000 people in this province who don't currently have a family doctor. And that means that people are going to now end up in urgent care centers. They're going to end up at emergency rooms.
The SHA says programs it offered in conjunction with the clinic will continue from a yet-to-be-determined location. 3 staff are being retained. The Seniors House Call program was relocated and renamed during the pandemic. The clinic declined further comment. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
Be even tougher until everything gets sorted out with this whole thing.
Sebastian Bartlett walking his kids to school Wednesday, but next week, classrooms could look as empty as this one. Teachers overwhelmingly voting down the latest offer on Monday, 89.5% of members saying no to the deal on the table.
It tells me that they know what they want to see out of a collective agreement and that they're willing to stand up for it.
With teachers prepared to walk off the job first thing next week, the province is offering support to some parents while kids are at home. Families would receive $30 per child for each day the strike rolls on. You must be a parent or guardian of a child under 12 who is enrolled in public, separate, or francophone schools to be eligible. You must also be registered on the parent portal with alberta.ca to access the money. One labor expert says these payments from the government serve as a distraction.
It feels like it's probably just an attempt to try and shift public opinion on the issue rather than try and solve the problem. What they should be doing is getting back to the table and talking to the union about how do we get a new deal.
Alberta Teachers Association President Jason Schilling says conversations at the bargaining table can happen at any point, but a strike feels like the next step.
If government is unwilling to move from what they positioned themselves with last week, we would have to just sit down and see.
If teachers do strike on Monday, they technically won't be hitting the picket lines as they don't receive strike pay. Schilling says teachers will be holding rallies and demonstrations, allowing the public to join. The first rally scheduled for Sunday morning at the legislature. Gates Gorin, CTV News, Edmonton.